Today's class will be given by His Grace Mahavishnu Prabhuji on Srimad Bhagavatam 4.5.22. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, you're there?
Hare Krishna, yes, this is Mahavishnu from Northborough, Massachusetts. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can everyone hear
Hare
me?
Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, Dandavas Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining and giving your association. You can take over the call, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitanena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyayeva Patithanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So yes, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 5, text number 22. Chapter is entitled Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha. Akramya Dakshasya Shitadharina Hetina Chindhanna Pitarudhartam Nashaknot Ambakasada. Then Virabhadra, the giant-like personality, sat on the chest of Daksha and tried to separate his head from his body with sharp weapons, but was unsuccessful. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This entire story, there is no purport to this verse, so we'll do a kind of recap of all that has gone before. This entire story, the story of Daksha, has many, many lessons we are learning as we go through each and every verse, as we listen to the devotees give so many wonderful explanations of so many different principles that come up in the story. One of the principles, or one of the lessons we can take from the story, is the principle or the lessons of leadership. We can see that Daksha, the Prajapati, the Kshatriya, his responsibility over creation is as a protector of the people. So we can learn quite a few lessons on leadership from this particular story. Daksha, Kshatriya, a king, Prajapati, is supposed to be a protector of the people. He is supposed to have control, mastery over his senses, mastery over the Arishad Dwargas, Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, and Matsaya. This is the characteristic of a Kshatriya leader, of someone who is going to take responsibility of the well-being of the subordinates, the citizens, the people in society. So the story of Daksha is a very, very powerful story for those of us who are in positions of leadership. Now, this does not only mean leadership in terms of the CEO being the CEO of a large corporation, being a business owner. This is also regarding the leadership in our own individual families, right? We know the verse, Guru nasasyat, swajano nasasyat, pitha nasasyat, jnani nasasyat, daivam nasasyat, napatisya sasyam, namuchedya samupatya mrityum. We are not to take up leaders of responsibility, whether it be as a parent, as a senior person in the family, a business leader, a guru, whatever it may be. We are not supposed to pick up those responsibilities unless and until we are able and willing to take responsibility for the ultimate liberation of our subordinates. I hear some chanting in the background. So be it. So unless you're willing to take responsibility to ensure that our subordinates are not overcome by samsara, not overcome by the principles of birth and death, and we are not supposed to take up such responsibility. So the story of Daksha is very, very powerful in that it teaches how to properly be a leader in society, whether we are a business leader, CEO of a large corporation, or a leader in our own individual families, as a mother or father. There are 4 types or 4 ways of executing leadership or being a manager, right? Sama, Dana, Beda, and Danda. Sama means to give or to speak in a diplomatic manner, to explain what you need to get done and try to persuade someone how to do something based on the merits of the argument. This is Sama. Dana means to give some gifts, to bribe. In other words, to show what the other person is going to gain by doing what you ask them to do, by doing what you request them to do. This is Dana. Bheda is manipulation. Manipulation in the sense that we try to weaken the other person's position. We try to point out, we try to find out what the other person's position is, and we try to weaken the other person's position so that they can come to our point of view, our perspective. And then finally, there is Danda, or the use of force. When all else fails, we use force. In the Mahabharata, we see Krishna use these 4 tools of persuasion very, very effectively. Well, let's say not effectively, because the person with whom he was dealing with, Duryodhana, was not persuaded. Krishna shows very clearly how these are to be used. After the Pandavas, we all know the story, we'll go over briefly. After the Pandavas had finished their 13 years of exile, and the Kauravas had tried to, they waged war on the kingdom of Virat, where the Pandavas were, right? And the Pandavas and Arjuna, they routed the Kauravas at that time. So finally became the point where Yudhishthira and the Pandavas went to Krishna, or Krishna was there, at Upaplavya. And the Pandavas, Yudhishthira asked Krishna that we would rather not have a battle, we would rather not go to war. Can you please be our United Nations envoy, ambassador, if you will, and go to Hastinapur and broker a peace with the Kauravas? So Krishna agreed. Krishna did this. Krishna went to Hastinapur, and he employed these 4 tools of diplomacy, of persuasion, that managers and leaders that we should use. The first Krishna used was Sama. He tried to persuade Duryodhana, my dear Duryodhana, the Pandavas are the rightful heirs to the throne. That is without question. They are the sons of Pandu. Pandu is the king. They are the rightful heirs to the throne. So Krishna tried to persuade Duryodhana by the merits of the argument, the righteousness of the argument. But, of course, Duryodhana was not persuaded. So Krishna went from Sama to Dana. Dana is the aspect or the principle of showing the other person what they stand to gain. So Krishna tells Duryodhana, my dear Duryodhana, the Pandavas do not want everything. They do not need everything. You took away Indraprastha, give them back Indraprastha, and you keep Hastinapur. Hastinapur, you take it, you keep it, that can be under your control. Duryodhana said no. Krishna says, okay, you keep Hastinapur, you keep Indraprastha, give the Pandavas 5 villages. The Pandavas are Kshatriyas. They have to engage in their Kshatriya dharma. They're going to want to have some influence, some control. So give them 5 villages. You keep Indraprastha, you keep Hastinapur. This is the principle of Dana. Duryodhana said no. So now Krishna comes to the third tool of diplomacy, of persuasion, and that was to try to weaken Duryodhana's position, right? Because Duryodhana was feeling very powerful. So Krishna attempted to weaken Duryodhana's position by going to Karna and telling Karna, my dear Karna, do you know that actually you are the eldest of the sons of Kunti? And Krishna tells the story about how Kunti, when she was a young girl, she had received, you all know the story, right? She received the mantra, and she tested the mantra, and the sun god came and gave her a child, and the child was Karna. So Krishna tells this story to Karna and says, my dear Karna, your name is not Radheya, because Radheya was the adopted mom, right? Radha, she had found Karna floating in the Ganga. Your name is not Radheya, my dear Karna. Your name is Kaunteya. You are the eldest son of Kunti. So in this way, Krishna was trying to weaken Duryodhana's position, because everything that Duryodhana was doing, he was doing based on the fact that he had Karna at his side, and Karna was at least as good an archer as Arjuna. So Duryodhana is thinking, if I have Karna, I cannot be defeated. So Krishna, employing the principle of Veda, trying to weaken Duryodhana's position to bring Duryodhana to his senses. That also did not work. Karna was not interested. So then the last tool of persuasion is danda. That is the stick or force. And that was the only thing that Duryodhana was able to be persuaded. He was still not persuaded, right? War was declared, Duryodhana lost. So these 4 tools are what leaders use in order to achieve that which they must achieve, to accomplish their responsibilities, to accomplish what they're here to accomplish. Now that's all very fine and wonderful, to know what these 4 tools are and to use them properly in order to be an effective and efficient leader or manager. Now we can assume that Daksha also knew these 4 tools. We can assume that Daksha also was able to effectively employ Sama, Dana, Veda, and Danda, right? Otherwise, if he is not well versed in these 4 tools of leadership, how can he possibly, Lord Brahma would not possibly allow him to become a Prajapati, right? So what was the problem? We have to go, and as Vaishnava leaders that we are, we have to take lessons from the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vaikuntha. Jai and Vijay are standing at the door of Vaikuntha, and they are guarding the door of Vaikuntha. They're guarding this door of Vaikuntha, and here comes the Chatushana, right? The 4 Kumaras to see Lord Vishnu. to see Narayan. So these 4 boys come, like 5-year-old boys, completely naked, and they're come to the gate of Vaikuntha. And they want to enter Vaikuntha to see Lord Vishnu. Jai and Vijay are standing there. This is a wonderful picture, right? This in the 7th canto. These 4 boys come completely naked, completely oblivious to all these external considerations. They come to see Vishnu. And Jai and Vijay hold out their hands, stop, you cannot enter. This is Vaikuntha. This is not the kindergarten. This is not a playground. You don't come here to play your games. If you want to go play, you go somewhere else to play. Go back to Gurukul, but not here. This is Vaikuntha. You're not to be here. We know the story. There was cursing back and forth. Vishnu had to come and so on and so forth, right? We know the story. The offense is that Jai and Vijay did not understand the purpose of their service. It is Vaikuntha. There is no question of unqualified person entering Vaikuntha. No question. The actual service of Jai and Vijay is not to stop people from entering Vaikuntha. The service of Jai and Vijay is to help, is to usher people more quickly, to more easily enter Vaikuntha and to see Vishnu. This is the service of Jai and Vijay. Because Jai and Vijay did not recognize this, then the Kumaras cursed them, saying you were seeing duality. In Vaikuntha, there is no duality. In Vaikuntha, everyone is friendly to Vishnu. Everyone is in relationship to Vishnu. There is no duality. Because you, my dear Jai and Vijay, because you see duality, get away from here. The service of Jai and Vijay was not to stop people from coming closer to Krishna, coming closer to Vishnu. It was just the opposite. The service of Jai and Vijay is to bring people quickly, more efficiently, more effectively, so that they become closer to Krishna in a genuine loving relationship. It is the same responsibility we have as leaders. Our responsibility as leaders is to find ways to bring people closer, more quickly, more efficiently to Krishna. That is the responsibility of leadership. Yaya tamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajam. They all surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. The duty of a leader is to recognize where all living entities are on their path and to help living entities come closer to Krishna, to progress along that path of spiritual development, spiritual maturity, spiritual progress. This is the purpose of leadership. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Back in my younger days, I was a teacher in the Mayapur Gurukula, and the Gurukula was going through some difficulties. This was in the mid-90s. The Gurukula was going through some difficulty, and there was a huge shakeup of Gurukula, and the Gurukula, where it once had nearly 200 students, after this difficult period, it had dwindled down to less than 30 students. So I was there, and the Gurukula was still going through this transition period. And they were bringing in a devotee, Chandrasekhar, actually. Some of you may know him. He is actually the GBC of China right now. They were bringing Chandrasekhar, who at the time was in Australia. And they were bringing him, he was also a Mayapur Gurukula. He was the generation before myself. When I came to Mayapur Gurukula, he was graduating. Anyways, they were bringing him back from Australia to come and run the Gurukula. So there was some delay with his visa, and they needed someone to be a caretaker. So the caretaker was me. They had, Mahavishya, can you please, I had been living in the Mayapur Gurukula for 10 years at that time, so I knew a few things. Of course, I was young, very inexperienced. I was in my early 20s. So I was obviously having some great difficulty, anxiety, stress, and so on. So I was talking to one of the GBC, getting some instructions from one of the GBC, one of the Mayapur GBC members. And he said something very important to me that I will not forget to this day, and it has helped me to this day as an aspiring or trying to serve as a leader or as a manager. And often failing, of course, but trying to serve. And as Maharaj, he mentioned, he says, Mahavishnu, your responsibility is very, very simple. Of course, at the time, it did not seem so simple. But he said, Mahavishnu, this is your meditation. Your responsibility is to make sure everyone in the Gurukula is happily engaged in Krishna's service. That's it. Two things. They are happy. They are satisfied. And second, they are engaged in Krishna's service. If they're happy, but not engaged in Krishna's service, that's Maya. That's one can. That's you don't need a Gurukula for that. That's the whole world is seeking after this. On the other hand, if they are engaged in Krishna's service, but they are miserable, then that service is actually aparad. It's seva aparad. So that is also not any good. So you have to, as a leader in the Gurukula Mahavishnu, you have to make sure your endeavor is to make sure everyone is happily engaged in Krishna's service. Now, of course, it sounds simple, but in practicality, it is very difficult. But what that mantra, that meditation, did for me was that it focused on the purpose of why I have to do the things that I have to do. It was a very, very powerful way of getting me to face what they call true north, the right direction in what I must do. It was a very, very powerful lesson I learned from Maharaj. Another quick story, if I may. A lesson that I learned in leadership. This was sometime after this particular period, also in the Mayapur Gurukula. A principal was established or assigned some years later after I had served as a temporary custodian of the Gurukula, or caretaker. It's one Mataji. She had been a teacher in ISKCON for decades, up until this point even. She had been a teacher in Europe. Her name is Mother Rachitambara. She's from Canada. She was a Gurukul teacher in Canada, in Europe, for many, many years, many decades. And they had asked her to be the principal of the Mayapur Gurukul. And she was a remarkable, one of the best teachers I had ever seen teach. A remarkable, remarkable teacher. But even as much as she was a remarkable teacher, she was an incredible leader. At that time, speaking of time, let me see how much time we have here today. Okay. At the time, in Mayapur, I do not know if they still do this, but at the time, every month, they would have what's called the D report. Every month, after Darshan Arti Guru Puja, all of the department heads of Mayapur, or 25 department heads, would come and they would give a report on their department to Sri Radha Madhava and Ashtashakti, right? So Mother Rachitambara would also give the report to Sri Radha Madhava about the Gurukula. And this had been done before by previous principals and so on and so forth. So we were all used to this. But what was so remarkable and a very powerful lesson I learned from Mother Rachitambara, one of the many lessons I learned from her, she gave her deity reports to the deities. And at this stage, everyone, all the community, Mayapur community, they're there in the temple room listening to the deity reports. So the temple is full of devotees. And Mother Rachitambara, she began the report of the Gurukula, And generally, every manager, they're given 5-10 minutes at the most, because there's a huge community, as you know. There's 25, 30 managers. If everyone spends more than 5-10 minutes, then the whole day is taken, right? So each manager is given 5-10 minutes maximum. And the manager comes and they explain what's going on in their department very nicely. So Mother Achitamra, she stands to the microphone. She offers her obeisances to Sri Sri Radhamadava, Srila Prabhupada, and she gives her report about the Gurukula. The first part of her report is 2 minutes. 2 minutes. I've never seen anyone give a report for a department so fully, yet at the same time so concisely. She said everything needed to be said, how the Gurukula is growing, what is the financial situation of the Gurukula, how many students have come, what teachers have come, what new initiatives are being taken in the Gurukula. 2 minutes. The remaining 5-10 minutes of her report was given over to naming each staff teacher in the Gurukula by name. She would state the name of a particular teacher and say, this teacher has done this. And she would give the name. This teacher has done this. Give the name. This staff member has done this. Give the name. Every single, except she did not mention the student's name. That's the problem. Every single staff member, office member, ashram teacher, academic teacher, the cooks, every single staff member by name she mentioned in her report. It was so remarkable because no other department head had ever done that before. The effect that had on the Gurukula was astronomically positive. The morale of the Gurukula during her leadership time was unequal to that point. She was able to encourage and inspire all of us in the Gurukula to serve completely, fully, with complete dedication in what we were doing. That is leadership. To inspire our subordinates, those over whom we have responsibility, to inspire them, encourage them, empower them to serve Krishna completely and fully. That is leadership. I experienced another remarkable leader here in the Boston Temple. When I was serving as a president, I had a head pujari. Her name was Mother Induleka. Another remarkable, absolutely phenomenal leader. She was the head pujari, and as many of you know, the pujari department is a very, very, of all the departments in the temple, I mean, every Monday the department should run pucked up, properly, perfectly. But if all the departments can be completely falling apart, but the department that must be run perfectly every single day is the pujari department. If nothing else runs, that must run, right? We all know this. So Mother Induleka was the head pujari. She ran the pujari department. She was not only an incredible manager and leader. I was able to give over the department to her fully and completely without any worry, without any stress or anxiety. But what was really remarkable about her as a leader was that she engaged anyone and everyone who wanted to do anything, any type of service for Sri Radha Gopi Vallabha, the deities in the Boston Temple. Whenever someone wanted to do service, she did not ask, are you second initiated? Who are you? What are you? That was never the first thing that came out of her mouth. When someone wanted to give service, no matter who they were, Mother Induleka, the first thing she would say was, yes, you can do service. That was very, very important. Because by first saying yes, you can do service, she empowered, she brought people closer to Radha Gopi Vallabha. After she would say yes, And she would explain to them what they can do. Make sure you have to come properly bathed. You have to have the proper clean dress. You come to the temple with your dress. You go upstairs. She would give them a room where they could change into their clean dhoti or sari, whatever it was, where they could take a shower. She would tell them, make sure you have not eaten. You can come down to the dry room, and she would have them do whatever it was, cleaning the achaman cups, right? Counting different types of jewelry. Whatever they were able to do, she would engage them in doing. Even children would come, they would want something to do. Under supervision, she would have them picking out or counting Q-tips. Important work that needed to be done, savor that needed to be done for the deity, but was suitable for young children. I had never experienced someone so expert in engaging people in Krishna's service. During the festivals, Janmashtami and all the various festivals, anyone who wanted to do anything for the deities, they would go to Indulekha, and Indulekha would say yes. And she would engage, and you would see all kinds of people happily engaged in Krishna's service. She was one of the most remarkable leaders I had ever witnessed in my 40 years of being a devotee. A most remarkable leader. This is the Jai and Vijay mentality. How to get people to come closer to Krishna. This is leadership. I was, 2 years ago, I was visiting Sweden. And in the summer, those of you who have the ability to travel in the summer, if you're not working too much, the temple is a temple in Sweden, a farm community in Almvik. Beautiful farm community. And every summer, they have a 1 week or 2 week or 1 week summer festival. That's like the Mayapur festival, called the Almvik Bhakti Sangha, Summer Bhakti Sangha. And devotees from all over Scandinavia, Norway, Finland, even the Baltic states, Latvia, Estonia, all the devotees from that region, they go to Almvik and they have seminars, classes, and wonderful, wonderful programs. Very, very inspiring. So I was there 2 years ago, and I was helping, volunteering some service. So they asked to take care of a few things, and they also asked me to take care of prasad service, but prasad service for the senior devotees, because many senior sannyasis and GBC devotees also come to the festival. So they asked me to take care of the prasad service for the GBC devotees and the sannyasis. So there was about 15, 20 such senior devotees, and I was to arrange for their lunch prasadam. So many devotees wanted to help serve prasadam to the senior devotees. Now, this was the difficulty I had. The difficulty I had was I had so many people who wanted to serve. But at the same time, the facilities, we had a small room set up for the serving of the senior devotees, and it has to be done in such a way that if there are too many people serving, it becomes chaos, right? If you have 20 people trying to serve 20 people, you have too many people, right? Just from a strictly managerial, organizational standpoint, you cannot have 20 people trying to serve, right? 20 people can serve 50, but you can't have 20 people serving 20 people. It doesn't work that way. The problem was I had 20 people who wanted to serve. And this is oftentimes the difficulty we may have in leadership. Expertise comes when those who want to serve, who want to come closer to Krishna, we must develop the expertise to engage everyone in the service of Krishna. So needless to say, I had to sit down and work out who's going to do whatever, rotating basis, so on and so forth. The details are unimportant. Point is that as leaders, we must become experts, like Mother Chitamba, like Mother Indulekha, how to inspire, empower people to come closer to Krishna. This is real leadership. And then we must have the organizational skill to engage 20 people in serving 20 people, right? We must have the organizational ability and skill. The reason why this is so is because our responsibility is not as Daksha. Daksha, whatever his motivation of leadership was, it was not to bring people closer to Krishna, closer to Vishnu. That was not his intention. Therefore, this entire Leela is playing out. As leaders, what we learn from this is not to be so much concerned with Sama, Dana, Beda, Danda. That is the organizational aspect of leadership. The most important part of leadership is to understand that we are responsible for bringing people closer to Krishna. Now, it can be very difficult. Now, this is not only for those who may be in leadership positions in a temple or in a large organization. This also comes down to our individual families. How can I organize my family so that all the members of the family, my husband, my children, my grandparents, my grandchildren, they become happily, or they are happily engaged in Krishna service, or they are able to appreciate Krishna, at least. This is leadership. How can I engage my in-laws? How can I bring them closer to Krishna? That may mean only giving them prasadam. Right? My grandmother was not so much inclined towards my mother and my family being involved in, when I was a child, my mother bringing me in, raising me as a devotee. My grandmother did not like that. So all my mother did was, she would simply bring prasadam to my grandmother. If that's all you can do, that is a leadership initiative. To be responsible, try to, in some way, shape, or form, bring others closer to Krishna. This is leadership. Now, we're getting a little short of time, so I'll begin to wrap it up. Last point on leadership. Organizationally, we know now why, or the purpose of leadership. The purpose is to bring people closer to Krishna, right? Not like Daksha, not to make the mistake of Jai and Vijay, right? Our responsibility is to bring people, find the most effective and efficient way to bring people, our subordinates, those over whom we have authority, do whatever it takes to bring them more effectively, more efficiently, closer to Krishna. That is the purpose of leadership. How we organize to get that done is also very, very important. We have tools, Samadana, Beda, and Danda. Right? We can use these tools to bring people closer to Krishna. Even Danda. Danda. Well, let's slow down for a minute here. I'm not saying you should go around with a stick beating people. I'm not saying that. Danda simply, for example, right? In a mandir, everyone is supposed to go to Mangalarti. Right? Anyone who's living in the ashram in a mandir, Mangalarti is absolutely necessary, required. Otherwise, why are you living in a temple, in the ashram? So in that situation, the president, oftentimes I found myself having to use force. That does not mean, let me slow down. That does not mean I went up into the ashram and started throwing people out of the bed. No. What that simply means is I would take the devotee into the office, sit them down, and be very forceful. If Samadana Beda did not work, I would be very forceful. Right? If I could not reason with the devotee, if I could not deal with, maybe they were having some issues, some problems, they didn't have an alarm clock, whatever it may be. If everything else was covered and still they were having problems, then it was time to be forceful. I demand, get up from Mangalarti. Sometimes leadership is required to be forceful. This is one of the characteristics of Kshatriya. They have to at times be forceful. Even though still the purpose is to bring people closer to Krishna. That may mean I have to ask a devotee, please, I'm going to ask that you no longer have the ability, because you cannot get up for the morning program, I'm going to ask you to please, let's make another arrangement for you to live outside the temple. That way someone who wants to live in the temple and get up for Mangalarti every day, we have the space for them. So now there is a way of doing this. Because the purpose is to bring people closer to Krishna, it is not that I take a person and I kick them out of the temple. No, that is Jai Vijay. The responsible thing to do is to say, okay, you cannot be in the temple. Let's put you in a situation where you can live nearby the temple. I make sure I engage with that particular devotee. Find ways that they can live outside the temple, but still be connected with the temple. Not to just throw a person out of the temple, because what happens then? They lose their desire to be connected to Krishna. In the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is entitled Devotional Service. In the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives a list from text number 12 to from text number 5 to text number 12. Go and read those verses. Krishna gives a list of all the things one should do to develop, to grow in Bhakti Yoga, to mature, to progress. Finally, Krishna says, if you cannot do this, do that. If you cannot do this, do that. If you cannot do this, do that. Finally, Krishna says, if you cannot do any of these things, then try to engage in the sadhana of Bhakti Yoga to develop a desire. Do whatever you can to develop a desire to attain me. This is very, very important. As leaders, we must make sure that we do not extinguish or put out the desire people have to come closer to Krishna. So if I'm having difficulty in the mandir of someone who cannot get up from Mangalarti, it is not I kick them out of the temple. Because if by kicking them out of the temple in a very rough manner, if I extinguish their desire to come closer to Krishna, then what happens? The 4 Kumaras will come and curse me. I have made Vaishnava Aparad. The desire to come closer to Krishna is very, very fragile in the material world. How many people have the desire to come closer to Krishna? As a leader, it is my responsibility to make sure I ignite that fire, not extinguish that fire. I'm supposed to make sure that fire becomes a roaring inferno, that desire to come closer to Krishna. I must still move them out of the temple because it's not working. But I stay engaged with that devotee. I work with other members of the community to find a place for that devotee to stay. I make sure that devotee always knows that I support that devotee in their development in Krishna consciousness. That they're always welcome to come to the temple. That there's any service that they want to do, I'll make sure they have service that they want to do to come to the temple. Because the responsibility, not that I behave like Daksha. My responsibility was to flame that desire, to make sure that desire grows. So the purpose of a leader is to make sure these systems are in place, to use these tools, samadhana, bheda, danda. And then also, this is the last point. We live, there are 3 parts to our existence. Shukshma Sharir, Sthula Sharir, and Karana Sharir. Basically, I don't want to go into the details. There's no time here. And people define these 3 things differently. Basically, this means body, mind, and soul. Right? Sthula, Shukshma, and Karana. Basically, it means body, mind, and soul. Different people define it differently, but so be it. This is our reality. We have a material body. We have a subtle body, and we are Jivatma within. This is our total reality, our total experience of existence. Notice this is also what must be in any organization. There must be taking care of the physical aspect of the people in the organization, the physical well-being, their emotional well-being, and their spiritual well-being. These three components are a part of every organizational entity, from a family unit all the way up to a multinational corporation. Well-being must be taken care of on these three levels. This is the responsibility of a leader. The physical needs must be taken care of. The emotional needs must be taken care of, and the spiritual needs must be taken care of. As leaders, we must take note of this. Even all the way down to the family unit, we see this, right? Generally in the family unit, the breadwinner is the father. Generally, I'm not saying that the mom cannot be. Let's not make this a whole politically incorrect thing. Bear with me, all right? Let's not get drawn into all this political silliness. There is the one parent, the primary person, the primary breadwinner. That person takes care of, generally it's the father, takes care of the physical needs. There is a home, there is food, there is shelter, there is warmth, there is clothing, there is health care. This is the physical, must be taken care of. Then there is the emotional. Generally this is the mother, because the mother is far more tuned to these things. She makes sure that emotionally, the children, the husband, everyone is emotionally cared for. The emotional well-being of everyone in the family is cared for. Then there is the spiritual. Now this is the part that is being left out oftentimes. The spiritual is obviously, or sometimes not so obviously, the spiritual side is the guru. If you are Diksha initiated, great, you have the guru, that third person is there. But if you're not Diksha initiated, because Diksha initiation is very, very serious. It is not just someone should take Diksha initiation because they want a Sanskrit name. No. Do not take Diksha initiation because you want a Sanskrit name. Take a Sanskrit name out of the book. The vows of Diksha initiation are extremely important. Very serious. So if you do not have Diksha initiation, and Shiksha Guru, in Varnashram it was called Kul Guru, right? You may know this, those of you who may be of Indian origin who are listening. You know this term, right? Kul Guru. The Kul Guru was there for the family. The family Guru. If you do not have Diksha initiation, find Shiksha Guru, Shiksha instruction, so that the family unit has the physical, emotional, and the spiritual well-being of the family unit. The mandir, the temple, must also have that. The physical needs must be taken care of. The emotional needs of the devotees must be taken care of, and their spiritual needs. In business, the same thing must be there. If you're running a business in your department, the physical requirements to get the job done must be there. The emotional well-being of your team members must be there. Spiritually, they may not know, if you're working in a non-spiritual environment, what you can do. Bring prasad. Once a week, bring some prasadam cupcakes from home. This is leadership. Bring prasadam cupcakes for your team. If you're the team leader, you're the project manager, once a month, bring prasad from the mandir. Everyone eat, even you're living in America, everyone will eat a cupcake, right? This is leadership. To bring people closer to Krishna. I'll end there. I believe I'm well over time. I will end there. If there's any questions or comments, please feel free to share. Hari Hari.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Koti Koti Dandvat Pranam to your seva. Srila Prabhupada Srila Gurudev ki jai. Dandvat Pranam. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. It's a very, very instructive class, Prabhu. Today I like the point you were mentioning, how devotees should be, means when we make sure whoever comes in the temple, they don't go far. Just like how Mataji was arranging the, when she done sometimes in the temple, or this second initiation devotee only can do, or first initiation devotee only can serve, or who is not initiated, they cannot do service. But what Mataji was doing was so inspiring. Thank you for sharing, Prabhu.
Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna, is there any question or comment for Prabhuji? I don't think so. Any question or comment, Prabhuji? We can end the call. Thank you for your association.